Everything around you in life was created by someone no smarter than you. And once you realize that you can change and influence it, you'll never be the same ever again. Steve Jobs. Steve is probably the most highly requested video I've gotten on this YouTube channel on how to present like him. And he obviously requires no introduction, but I will try my best to do him justice. Steve Jobs is one of the greatest inventors and pioneers of our generation. He created the iPhone, the everything, the iPad, the iPod Touch. He's revolutionized the way that we think about design, technology, and made us think about how we can think just a bit differently, to the crazy ones who thrive, to those who change the world, and for those who want to do great things in their life, which is exactly why in this week's episode of MasterTalk, we're going to be breaking down the communication style of how Steve Jobs presented some of the world's most revolutionary products in the simplest of ways. So let's get into it. Number one, use your slides as a way to share your ideas, not as an emergency kit. There's so many people who are presenting all the time on PowerPoint and every other slide you can think of, and they're always presenting like this. One second, let me just read off my slide for 72 minutes and I'll get back to you. Slides are not meant to be used as an emergency kit. They're not training wheels. They're a way for you to amplify your message. And Steve Jobs was a master at this, where every single slide he used, especially when he presented the iPhone the first time, it was very simple. He had a picture of a phone, of what it looked like before, which was flip phones. I don't know if you know what that is. It's like a phone that goes up and down. And then after that, he said, look, we got internet, we got music, and we got a phone. And these three devices are one, and we're calling it the iPhone. So notice how when he was presenting his slides, they're very simplistic in their nature so that people focus on the presenter rather than the text that's behind them. That's why I encourage all of you, follow in Steve Jobs' footsteps. Think of your slides as an amplifier of your message. So a challenge I have for all of you as you're listening to this is the next time you see a slide in your deck that has a lot of text, challenge yourself to replace that entire slide with just an image. And let's see how you do. And if you do that over and over again, and you constantly force yourself to change the slide for an image, eventually you'll have a lot less text and a lot more amazement, awe, and a little bit of Steve Jobs too. Number two, focus on why people should care about your ideas and nothing else. Steve Jobs could probably spend a day explaining all of the technical product specs of an iPhone. And correct me if I'm wrong, he's never spent more than 7 minutes talking about the technical aspects of his product. He goes into the features as to why it matters, why you should buy it, and why it's better than what existed before, period. And that's why when Steve's presenting, he always has his audience in mind. He is always in the product. He's spending 15 hours a day thinking about the iPhone. But the audience who's fresh, who's new, who doesn't really understand what he's doing, because in 2008, when he first presented the iPhone, people used to use BlackBerries. Like people used to have keyboards that you can type on phones. So they didn't really understand what Steve meant by a touch screen. Right, so whenever you're presenting revolutionary products, do what Steve did, which is communicate what existed in the past. What are you using today? Then talk about the future. Why is what you're doing important to fixing what already exists? And then the third piece of that is how it's going to change their life in a new way. So before, when you had a flip phone, sometimes it would work, it's really slow, but now with the iPhone, you can do much more than just take a call. You can play games, you can take notes, you can engage in meetings, you can manage your time better, for most of us anyways, and you can connect with the world. That's the magic of the iPhone. So by focusing on those key benefits and why it matters, rather than saying, yeah, this phone is a 7 gigahertz 29692. Anyways, you're already bored. Right? So if I focus on those benefits, Steve has done an incredible job of explaining the most complex products at Apple in a way that anyone understands it. So I give you the same challenge. Is there an easier way to explain my idea so that everyone else can understand it? I want you to ask that question over and over and over again for the rest of your life. Number 3, repeating a few ideas is more important than communicating all things to all people. What I love about Steve Jobs is the way that he's very selective about the products he used to build. Whether it was the Mac and reinventing the computer, whether it was the iPod and reinventing music, or even the iPhone, when it comes to reinventing the phone, every time this guy presents, he's always focused on this theme of reinvention. He doesn't try to be everything. He tries to reinvent things that he's passionate about. And he's always recommunicating that same topic over and over and over again in the decisions that he makes and in the presentations that he used to give. And I think there's a lot we can learn from this, because what all the best brands do is that they stand for something and they ask you a question, which is, do you want to join us? Nike's the same. Nike's not trying to be some soft brand, right? They're not trying to be soft cookies. They're trying to win. They're all about competition. They're about greatness. And if it's not something that interests you, Nike's the brand for you. But if you don't really care that much about winning, Nike's probably not the brand for you. So in that same way, when you think about what other brands stand for, you need to ask yourself, what are the 1 or 2 key ideas that you want to stand for? And spoiler alert, every time Steve Jobs used to give a presentation, it was always around one idea. Think different. Apple's logo. How do we think differently in the way that we think about phones, in the way that we think about laptops or any other product? How can we reinvent that? How can we change it? How can we create a campaign around the crazy ones, the ones who dare to change, the ones who dare to make a difference? So figure out what those ideas are for you. Keep them short, keep them sweet, and keep communicating them for the rest of your life. Everything around you that you call life has been influenced by someone no smarter than you. And once you realize that you can change and influence the way that people live their lives, you'll never be the same ever again. Steve Jobs' incredible wisdom stays with us even long after he's left us, about how to innovate, how to create ideas, products, and services that can last for a lifetime. And that's why I want you all to think about this. If you only had one idea to share with the world, what would you want that idea to be? Because if you care enough to share it, if you're willing to put all of your energy and all of your resources into making that idea happen, I encourage you to share it, because the world needs to hear it. So get to it. As always, if you enjoyed this week's episode of MasterTalk, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well to see more videos like this. And if you know somebody who owns anything from the Apple Store, be sure to send them this video so that they'll be one step closer to understanding the greatness that is Steve Jobs. Take care, everyone. See you soon.